it's a lot better when you guys stand up. Can you stand up? You guys are you're vegans. You can make it. You can stand up and give a few high kicks for half an hour, 45 minutes. Okay, I was researching what these guys are doing to ask questions. First of all, give it up to PETA for getting Donna Karen to give up fur. Take it away.
Well, not only Donna Karen, of course, but Tom Ford, Michael Kors, it just goes on. But it mustn't stop at fur, as you all know. Animals who are killed for fur don't suffer any more than any of the rest. And for those people who are thinking, well, it's all about food, we have to remember that most of the animals who are killed for clothing end up as food. And that even includes the alligators who are made into those little alligator pate or whatever it is. So, not just fur, not just leather, and now we have all these fabulous vegan leathers, pineapple leather, mushroom leather, apple leather. But we just broke the story. We had done Angora, taking people to China to see how the rabbits are plucked alive and have their throats slit. And so we decimated the Angora industry, but we just broke the investigation into mohair. And H&M, who else? Anthropology, Gap, and Zara, best company in the world, all saying no more male hair.
Investigation that PETA did into what they do to these goats in South Africa to get the mohair, and I had nightmares. And that's the hard part, going undercover and bearing witness to these atrocities so that we can show the world, right on for doing that. Unbelievable. Jane Bauer, oh my God, changing the world in so many ways, live streaming happy farm animals roaming free. Tell us about it.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with everybody, and I think most people are appalled when they see the images of factory farming and the horrors that we cause other animals to suffer. And it's important for people to see that and to know what kind of harm we cause. And it's also, I think, important to know that we can celebrate lives with animals in a positive, mutually beneficial way, where the animals are our friends, not our food. And this is actually not only good for other animals, it is good for us. It helps to reduce our stress, it helps to improve our lives and lower our blood pressure. So kindness to animals is good for animals, and it's good for people. Cruelty to animals is violence against everything. And it unfortunately boils down to power, and humans tend to have more power than other animals. And I think with power comes a lot of responsibility, but unfortunately, power also has a huge corrupting impact. And that is something as human beings we need to be mindful of, and that just because we can do something to somebody else shouldn't mean we should. And thankfully, thanks to the great work of folks up here and folks throughout this event, people are seeing how wrong our conduct has been and are demanding changes. And that's the undercover investigations, the speaking out against it, and then consumers voting with our dollars for a different kind of economy. Using mushroom leather, things like this, instead of animal skins. So we're at a great time. There's more momentum than ever before, and we're all part of it, and it's just beautiful to be here with all of you.
To be on stage with my heroes. Oh my God, it really is. Captain Paul Watson. Oh my God. The animals you've rescued, the nets that you have pulled from the ocean, the illegal fishing you've stopped, and the wars you've waged on the high seas. Tell us.
And the boats you ran.
Thank you. Right now we have about 200 volunteers on 12 ships around the world and stopping poachers or in East Africa, West Africa, Peru, the Caribbean, Australia, Indonesia, the North Pacific, and pretty much everywhere we can get to where we can make a difference. We have 2 ships down in the Sea of Cortez pulling poaching nets to protect the endangered vaquita and the endangered totoaba fish. And I can confidently say that if we hadn't been there for the last 4 years, the vaquita would now be extinct. And so we're making a difference on that level, but on many other levels too. But Neptune's Navy, as we call it, is a vegan Navy. It always has been. All vegetarian from 1980 until 2000 and vegan since 2000. And now our crew don't have to be vegans to serve on the ships, but they have to be vegan while they're on the ships. And that has converted quite a few people because they've been introduced to something that they really never thought about or were reluctant to get involved in, and they found that after 2-3 months at sea, they actually had survived and were feeling better. And so I think that has been a really good way of introducing people into a vegan lifestyle.
I'm going to ask my dear friend Jane Velez-Mitchell, who's going live for us. Please step a little over there so we can get the audio. No, move over there. Thank you, to get the audio. The audio is where the speaker is. Thank you. That's better. Thank you so much, Danny Rukin, the amazing vegan. Wasn't even vegan until 2 years ago, and now she's like a major activist. All right, Mark Devries. Am I pronouncing it right? I went back and forth a million times last night. You say Devries, I say Devries. Mark Devries. Unbelievable heroism, sending drones up over factory farms to show what they try to keep secret, along with being the director and producer of the incredible film Speciesism, the movie. Tell us about the drones.
I think that most people don't realize that farms practically don't exist anymore. People imagine, because the animal agriculture industry has done such a good job marketing the idea that there are animals on something like a sanctuary, with people one by one are making a difference, changing the world, waking people up, preventing the industry from ever being able to keep us all in the dark again. And I think that's a reason for all of us to remember that every day we can do something to educate others in the real world and online, and we should never give up, because collectively, we're not alone. You're not doing this yourself. Collectively, we are all changing the world for animals, and it is happening. And it will continue to happen if none of us give up.
And I gotta give a shout out to a couple of people. My nephew Paul, a vegan, and his daughter, vegan from birth, Gold Star vegan. She is out there somewhere hula hooping on the ground. And one of my heroes, Lisa Bloom, a vegan attorney. Stand up, Lisa, please. Who is walking the walk. And there are many other heroes in this audience, but my LASIK is worn off, so I may not be able to recognize you. Ornelas, one of the most important components, the Food Empowerment Project, showing, and I know this is a word that's used a lot these days by the very smart people who don't get this but will, the intersectionality of the abuse of people, workers, and the environment, and consumers in food deserts. She brings it all together with animal rights. Lauren Ornelas.
Thank you. Yeah, our organization is basically, as a woman of color, I know that the work that we do is maybe seen as different by the mainstream organizations, but our work has a purpose, and our work is to show the connections of these issues, that we don't have to choose one or the other. We can care about human and non-human animals alike, and it's our responsibility to help draw these connections together and build bridges instead of walls.
I've been thinking about what could be the most important thing that we can achieve. I see this as the Continental Congress of Veganism. All right? We are on the cusp, and we're going to do it. And to me, it's fast food. Thankfully, all of these people on this stage are taking efforts to wake up consumers and pressure the fast food industries. I know I get messages all the time from PETA too about McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Burger King, and all the other fast food giants that are entrenched in their ways. Tell us what you're doing, Ingrid, and we'll pass that along.
I am eating as many Beyond Burgers as I can to support that company. I'm so excited, and I think that because all they really care about is the bottom line, and customers coming in or not, that our work behind the scenes with the fast food companies has gone to a new level. Because we're not only able to do exposés of the suppliers that they use, and I'm talking here about humane meat and humane dairy and humane eggs too, not a whit of difference between any of them. Complete bogus when you see the packages that show the waving grass and the happy hands, all rubbish, all fraud. But we are hearing from these companies now that they know that something's happening out there in the market. They're looking for solutions. And just as we have all these new vegan leathers and people want to be hip and they want to be trendy and they want to be fashionable and they want to buy things that are cheap meat that isn't meat is coming. And we now have so many burgers that you can eat that are phenomenal. And not one animal had to die for them.
Yeah. Jane Bauer, the forces are aligned against us, pushing back, and they are doing it in the form of the King Amendment. And I get messages from Farm Sanctuary telling us to rise up and stand against the King Amendment. So I called my Congressman Ted Lieu, and I said, hey, I want you to kill the King Amendment. And they took my name and they took my information. I urge all of you to do the same thing. What's the King Amendment?
Yeah, the King Amendment is part of the Farm Bill, which is a federal piece of legislation that governs food policy, but it's crafted by the Agriculture Committee, made up of lawmakers very friendly to agribusiness, including Steve King, a congressman from Iowa. And he included, he's one of he represents the biggest factory farming interests that exist. And he introduced this amendment to undermine state humane laws, state environmental laws, state labor laws, to allow factory farms to continue to operate in a way that is a violation of basic humane standards. So the King Amendment is a huge problem with the Farm Bill. So if you haven't done so already, please contact your federal representative, urge them to oppose the King Amendment. In fact, even encourage them to oppose the whole factory farm bill, which is going to be probably voted on in early May in the House of Representatives.
And, you know, if we kill our oceans, we're dead. And it seems like the entire planet and the oceans have you in their hands, because you are the one who is fighting, often doing the work that governments should do on behalf of the oceans, but they're not doing. Tell us about some of the work you do to stop the decimation of our oceans.
Well, the problem is that governments really have very little economic or political incentive to go out and save the oceans. For the most part, nobody really thinks about it. The fact that 80% of the air we breathe is produced by phytoplankton in the ocean, not many people are aware of that. And we've had since 1950 a 40% diminishment in phytoplankton populations around the world, and that's because we've diminished so many other animal species, whales, seals, and that. In fact, whales are the farmers of the ocean. They feed the phytoplankton. Their manure carries nitrogen and iron, which are the nutrients necessary for phytoplankton, and because of that, it's being diminished. Also, people are very much aware that 40% of the fish that's taken out of the ocean isn't eaten by people. It's fed to chickens and factory farms. It's fed to pigs and domestic salmon and fur farms. And in fact, the strange thing about it, chickens now around the world eat more fish than all the albatrosses and puffins and penguins put together. And domestic house cats eat more fish than all of the seals in the North Atlantic. And pigs are eating more fish than sharks. And we don't think about these things, but we're literally eating the ocean alive. But on the positive side, I've seen such an incredible growth in the vegan movement over the years. It's just incredible. I mean, if you go back 20, 30, 40 years, back in 1980, nobody knew what a vegan was. And especially, I could see that we were gaining support when I go to southern France, for example, where back about 1980, you had to say, do you have anything vegetarian? It was always like, quoi? So we were at a seaside restaurant there, and I noticed they had veggie burgers on it, and I said, wow, this is amazing. When did you do this? We got tired of all of these tourists that come here and all they order is French fries because that's all they can eat. So if we're going to make any money, we have to get this stuff out of here. So consumer pressure is getting to them, and they're responding to it.
Mark, you work with Mercy for Animals that does undercover investigations into these factory farms, sending people, imagine, these heroes who have to actually go through the process of being a worker in these farms, even though it's gut-wrenching, living in hotels, risking their lives while wearing hidden cameras. What's the latest on how Mercy for Animals is using that hidden camera technology, and you as well, with Mercy for Animals?
Undercover investigations done by many organizations, Mercy for Animals, PETA, Compassion Over Killing, Humane Society of the United States. These function as the eyes and ears of the public. The factory farms are never going to let us inside. As we've talked about, the main thing they want is for us to, A, not think about it at all, and B, if we do think about it, imagine that there are animals on that weaving grass and so forth. And so these investigators, who I'm very lucky to have gotten to know many of, are really remarkable, brave people who work in these factory farms, and they document the abuse and they document the conditions that these animals are forced to live in day after day. And what allows these investigations to be successful is all of us who share them and who support these organizations and who speak about them. That is what is getting the message out about factory farming. And I think it's very important to remember that these animals really are like us in the ways that matter. Throughout history, people have abused and exploited other groups of people and used the justification that those people are inferior, and that whoever happens to be the group in power says that they're superior. And we say that that group of humans, whatever they are, exist for our use. But we're doing the same with all of the other species that we share this planet with. We have developed the ideology that says they exist for our use, even though the very things that matter most, our ability to feel pain, that matter morally, our emotions, joy, grief, fear, love, we share these things with animals, including the animals we enslave and exploit on factory farms. And as these undercover investigations from all of these organizations continue coming out, people are seeing these animals as individuals, and they are seeing what they go through, and it is making a difference. And again, every single one of us, every time we speak with someone, every time we share a video, that is making a difference. And especially if we do so with kindness and appreciation that people are stuck in their habits. They're not used to the idea of changing their diet. Sometimes it takes them time. They are, as Ms. Newkirk often says, I believe, pre-vegans.
Yeah!
And that's what they all are. And we can, little by little, move them forward.
And I want to say, my late mother, who was pretty much a vegan and lived to 99 and a half, her best friend, Nilda from Argentina, is sitting right there. She's been watching all of the panels, and she's going to be vegan by the end of this afternoon. Okay. But you know what's funny, and I want to give you a compliment, Lauren. I have friends and relatives who just don't care about animals. They're all about people, and they think it's a competition. And so I was researching you, and I sent them a link, and I said, for those who don't care about animals, take a look at the horrors workers endure in factory farms. And I sent them a link from your website. You take the approach of course, animals as well, but you talk about the horrific impact, the trauma that killing for a living it inflicts on people who have no choice about what job they're going to get.
We do. I'm celebrating my 30-year vegan anniversary, so I've done numerous investigations of factory farms and slaughterhouses, so I've seen for myself what happens inside. But our work is more about getting people to recognize that just because something is vegan doesn't mean it's cruelty-free. So we do talk about what happens to factory farm workers and slaughterhouse workers, but we actually put more emphasis on those people who pick our food. So because as vegans, we want everybody to think about what their food and how those animals are treated, and we need to stop to think about who picks our food. And that's farm workers who suffer in the fields, and they are who is responsible for everything that we eat, unless you grow your own food. So this is a way of us having the ability to lower our self-righteousness a bit and remind people that we know we're not perfect and that we need to do our best to eliminate some of the suffering in our own diets. Just like we want people to think about how non-human animals are treated, we can't ignore how human animals are treated in the food supply either. And we have a responsibility. It's not a one or the other. We are in this together. We don't have the ability anymore to be single issue. We need to speak out and push that arc of justice for true justice and compassion for all.
Because as I look at it, I see casual dining is changing. You know, you have TGIF Fridays and the Counter and all of these places offering vegan alternatives. You have White Castle being on the forefront of offering a vegan burger, but there are those entrenched industries, and 1 out of every 4 people eats fast food. Fast food continues to increase, especially like the Chick-fil-A's of the world. I know you have a plan. I get the PETA 2 notifications all the time to pressure these companies to start offering vegan options. They're just boxes. If we're not going to make fast food go away, can we change what goes into those boxes called fast food joints?
Yes, I have a plan, and it will all be over in about 20 minutes. Now, one of the most important things, of course, is that it's often generational when we change something. And what someone grows up doing today is not what they grew up doing 30 years ago or 40 years ago. And I have the wrinkles to prove that I can think back to how it used to be. When we were growing up, we wanted a fur coat, and our mothers did, and our grandma. That's all gone. And I think kids growing up today are going to have all these super choices. We have an app thing where you get a message and you just press Y. And that's all you have to do, 1 finger Y, and that's a message that goes to the fast food places and to everybody else who's exploiting animals. And I don't want to leave laboratories out, because the animals in laboratories often get forgotten, and they shouldn't be. We've seen it with cosmetics, we've seen it with medical devices. It's choice, it's generation, and more than anything else, it's push, push, push. No one has to be impolite, but we have to be persistent. And we have to never, ever miss any opportunity to weigh in. This is our world, and we've taken it away from the animals. Let's move in, let's weigh in, and let's say, this is what we want. And then the producers will listen, because we'll not give them our money.
Absolutely. And I want to say that even though I'm not exactly a Gen Z by any means, I do get the PETA 2 email alerts, and I do have the app. I urge all of you to get it. 0 to 100, get this app, because it's so fun for me. I hit X, and then X2, and then X3, and then X4, and in that short 30 seconds or 20 seconds, I've sent a message to 4 fast food producers or 4 companies that use animals, and it's all thanks to PETA. Well done. Well done. You are doing so much, but one of the things you're doing is humane education. Tell us about that.
Yes, we have humane educators going into schools in New York and California. We believe that children are naturally open-minded and connect with animals, and so we tell the animal stories. And we also encourage people to come visit the sanctuaries. We have one not far from here in Acton. If you've not been there yet, please visit. Bring friends, bring family, bring kids. Every year for Thanksgiving, we do a celebration for the turkeys where they're the guests of honor. And we set up pumpkin pies. It's a really fun thing. Farm Sanctuary is a place of healing for animals and for people, and for children today. Many of us grew up eating meat without thinking about it. Children today, I think, through information online and through their phones, have a lot of knowledge now about factory farming. And they also have knowledge about Googling like vegan lasagna and the kinds of things they can eat. So there are solutions. And so we're in the schools now encouraging the next generation to basically live in alignment with their natural, humane tendencies. I think most people are humane and would rather not cause unnecessary harm. But when everybody around you is doing something bad, you think it's the normal thing. And then people tend to start doing what those around them do. We're social animals. So if children are exposed to seeing farm animals as friends instead of as food, and there are other people who model that relationship and that connection and that behavior, it's going to start rubbing off on the kids. So we're in the schools and hoping that more of these kids start thinking about this and maintaining their natural connection and compassion for animals.
I was on one of your Sea Shepherd vessels when it was docked in, I was trying to do like a pirate accent, but that didn't work. When it was docked in Marina del Rey, and it was just so fascinating. I really thought, I would love to go out on one of these boats, but there is a way to be a part-time hero. Tell us about that. Okay, well apparently I saw these pictures of these guys like weekend warriors unfurling nets and doing things for you guys on a part-time basis. In other words, you don't have to get on a boat and go to Timbuktu.
Well, I'm not really familiar with that program.
Maybe it was just those mushrooms that I had last night.
But there are three various levels of getting involved with Sea Shepherd. People can become crew members, go out on the campaigns. People can be shore supporters and supporting those campaigns. People can support financially. There's all different levels of doing it. What we try to do when crew come on board as volunteers is to encourage them to understand this one thing, and that is each and every one of us has the power to make a difference and not to let people deter you from your passion. So what we're able to do when crew come out is when people participate where they're actually able to save the life of a sea turtle or a whale or a dolphin, it's an incredible motivation, that they've actually achieved something, and the understanding that they can achieve more. And so one of the things I'm most proud of a Sea Shepherd is it's not an organization, we're actually a movement. We're in 45 different countries, but they're all separate entities. But many organizations have actually been inspired by our crew. That people have gone out and realized that they can make a difference and have followed their passion. And I've always felt that the way to achieve anything is to harness your passion to two virtues, courage and imagination. And if you do that, you can do absolutely anything. You can change the world.
Something happens and I have to look at regular television, which I am so horrified by, because normally I'm just watching like Homeland or, one of those fun shows. But regular television is just meat, dairy, pharmaceuticals. And, as somebody said, there's a reason they call it the Food and Drug Administration. First they feed you the bad food, then they feed you all the drugs. And it's like, I know, watch out for suicidal ideation, and, just like, it's amazing to me that these commercials are allowed on the earth. But the great thing is that thanks to PETA, Farm Sanctuary, Sea Shepherd, Food Empowerment, Mercy for Animals, the information is getting out there on social media. And Mercy for Animals, you do so much with the means, not to say that the other groups don't, but tell us about some of the things that you do to get around that mainstream media news blackout on animal rights and the constant droning information about meat, dairy, pharmaceuticals.
Well, droning in the other sense is part of what we do, and that's really has a big impact. I'm really happy to say that the program, the main thing that I've been working on recently, flying these drones over these factory farms and releasing them as short documentaries, reaches literally for each one over 1 million people, and sometimes up to 15 million people. And that also goes for videos but also all of these other organizations and different types of videos. And I think it cannot be exaggerated how powerful video media really is. We are primates whose predominant sense that stands out is our eyes. We're visual animals. That means we look around at the world and judge it with our eyes before our nose, for example, like black bears do, and so forth. And we empathize with our eyes. And when we see what happens inside of these factory farms, that's when it really hits us and makes a difference. So social media has a tremendous impact because you're able to reach people directly. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then of course also blogs, in addition to social media, are reaching through all of these organizations millions upon millions of people with things that you almost never see on mainstream media because it's not a sensational story. It's not a specific tragic accident or something funny that the president did or something like that. It's just, it's something that's going on all around us all the time. And by using these means that bypass the traditional sensationalized media and reaching people directly, we're making a huge difference. But it's not us, it's all of you. It's all of you who engage and who send these Facebook posts out and who share on Twitter and so forth. That's what's making a difference. So if you follow these different organizations, PETA, Farm Sanctuary, Mercy for Animals, and so on, and you share the social media posts, that collectively is what's bypassing the mainstream media and reaching the world and changing the world.
And I just want to say, we're going live at Jane and Shane, Facebook.com/Jane Velez-Mitchell, so please hit share. And so your pre-vegan